Good evening. This is Dr. Garrett, and I trust you are having a wonderful evening. I trust you are having a wonderful evening. In all my videos, I often start out with this topic. I hope you are having a wonderful evening. The reason why I say that is that we are all challenged to increase our emotional intelligence. There are so many situations or events that's in our control or not in our control, which we give power to determine and control our emotional intelligence. I'm all about managing and conquering your emotional intelligence. As a matter of fact, everyone should strive to get a PhD in emotional intelligence. And the acronym PhD means the ability to proclaim holistic deliverance over emotional intelligence. All right. So it's important to have control of your emotions. So this way you can better prepare yourself to conquer adversity, to strive for perfection while settling for excellence, and most importantly, to be a positive influence for yourself and others. Once again, my name is Dr. Garrett. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This afternoon at my job, I had an interesting conversation with my peers, and we was talking about masculinity in women. Why are so many women are becoming masculine, right? And the essence of the conversation has to do with the lack of men being masculine. Women have to take over that role. And if you do a genogram or a family tree, you'll find that a lot of men who lack masculinity is a result of being raised in a single family home with the woman who have insecure or relational conflicts that she passed on to her son. Now her son, as a man, he's not saying, I think, or this is what we should do. He is saying, I feel. He has a feminine perspective of life, and that's not what men are called to be. We are called to be analytical thinkers, critical thinkers, concrete thinkers, seeing the bigger picture holistically. This is why we have an XY chromosome. When you think about X, you think about emotions. When you think about Y, you think about intellect. You put that together, that means differentiation, the ability to have heightened emotional and intellectual functioning. This is the role of man. This is why we are called to be leaders. Now, today, I want to briefly talk about this topic. Why is accountability so difficult? Whether you're a man or woman, doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. Why is accountability difficult for some people? And this is a situation that baffles my mind, because in a relationship, and a relationship is really for mature people. If you're not mature, then you should not be involved in a relationship. Now, when I talk about relationship, I'm talking about long-term, sustainable relationship where you not only strive for perfection, but you also considering to elevating your significant other, which basically means your spouse. In other words, a marriage is not a partnership. You give 100% of your time in that relationship. Now, why is this important? This is important because we are called to be a difference maker, a change agent, a repairer of the breach. When there's accountability, when there's perseverance, when there's determination, when there's endurance, you can break generational sins that's permeating the family tree, and you can restart the new generation for your offspring, right? And it's so important for us to really consider how we conduct ourselves, how we carry ourselves. So we want to make a difference wherever you go, so you walk taller and you think higher. And wherever you do with these, you do it with all your might. There's a lack of accountability. People always deflecting. They don't have an action plan when it comes to getting their job done. They don't have an action plan with getting their housework done. always making excuses. And remember, there's three type of people, right? And remember, before you check someone else, check yourself. Three type of people. And I find this relates to my clients. This relates to my colleagues. And remember, I got to check myself because you're looking at the biggest prisoner, the biggest vacationer. These are themes that I used to deal with. Now I'm striving to be an explorer, always coming up with an action plan, always seeing the bigger picture, always being optimistic, always being informative, adventurous, not being afraid to step out the box and challenge myself to do things differently. So the three type of person is an explorer, comes up with a game plan, accountability. He or she relies on their protective factors, their resiliency, their meekness. Meekness is defined as the ability to bounce back in the midst of adversity. This is someone who you love to work with. This is someone who we should be striving to have a long-term relationship, because this is a person that can hold you down when your faith is not as strong as it should be. We all should strive to be an explorer, an adventurer, striving for perfection while settling for excellence. And this is the easiest client for me to work with. Then there's a vacationer, number two, somebody who does things at the last minute. You do your housework at the last minute. You do your work at the last minute, always making excuses. And the vacationer and the third one, the prisoner, their outward behaviors is manifested by what's going on inside. When there is a separation and divorce between me, myself, and I, or your past, present, and future, then it's going to resonate and manifest itself in how you conduct your household chores. There are some people who are organized, explorers, some people who are not organized, vacationer or prisoners. And you find over time, people can become unequally yoked, right? And this also has to do with health. The more we take accountability of our behaviors, you're going to find yourself in optimal health. And even when you get sick, you're not sick for a long period of time because your body used of helping others, being altruistic. Three type of people who I encounter each and every day: prisoners, vacationers, and explorers. Now, let's see how this resonates inside the Bible, right? Remember, this topic is, why is accountability so difficult to manifest in God's people? Now, I'm reading from the King James Version, right? I'm reading from the book of Titus, right? Chapter 2, verses 11 through 13. And the Bible says this: "For the grace of God that bringeth salvation have appeared to all men." So right there, Paul is telling us that the grace of God, which is God's mercy, has appeared before all men. This is the reason why we cannot be living in excuses. This is the reason why we cannot be living in deflecting, always blaming others and not taking accountability of our actions. One of my favorite texts in the Bible where it says that God is not the author of confusion. And when there is confusion, you can never have health and wealth in the four areas of life: your physical, psychological, spiritual, and physical welfare. Physical, psychological, spiritual, and social. Physical, psychological, spiritual, and social. These are the four areas of life, right? There cannot be confusion where you came from, your past, where you are now, your present, and your future. Because if you have confusion in yourself, you will have confusion in how you relate to others, and that confusion will be played out in how you organize or disorganize in your work performance, your car, and your home. So it's important for us to really examine where we came from. A lot of people have unresolved family of origin experiences or past relational experiences that prevent you from giving yourself 100% unequivocal, beyond the reason of doubt, beyond the preponderance of evidence of giving yourself fully in your relationship. And that's why your temperature, your body temperature, your emotional temperature, which is controlled by the hypothalamus, is offset, and you'll find yourself susceptible of getting sick. So God is telling us here, there is no excuse for lacking accountability. Every time we miss the mark of being accountable of our behaviors and our emotional outlook, we open ourselves of being sick. So he's telling us the grace of God, which is God's mercy. God mercy is given to everyone. The grace of God that bringeth salvation have appeared to all men, so no one's without excuse. God's grace has appeared to everyone. Right now, here's the question: how does His grace appear to you? His grace appeared to us in traveling mercies, waking us up in the morning. We could. Bible says death is nothing but sleep. The food, the clothing, the jobs, the cars, be able to breathe, be able to see, smell, chew, taste, speak, walk. That's all part of God's mercy that we see every day. So we should be grateful for the opportunity of interacting with others to make a difference in someone's life. Now, I'm reading from verse 12, right? For the grace of God that bringeth salvation have appeared to all men. That's chapter 2, verse 11. Verse 12 says this, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. So God is telling us here, let me break this down. Let me dissect it like a surgeon, right? The grace of God has appeared before all men. The grace of God, what Paul's telling us, has appeared to us in 5 different ways, or 5 different teaching moments. Number 1, we have been continuously taught that we have to deny ungodliness. Any type of confusion is ungodliness. There are food that we should not be eating. Go to Leviticus and go to Numbers. It tells you what foods we should eat, what foods should we not eat. We have to sustain for eating a lot of sugary drinks. We have to sustain of watching certain programs. We have to sustain for tabernacle with those who are living ungodly, those who are half-stepping, those who have people on the side, those who are not giving their all in life. Why would you want to hang out with someone who's living an ungodly life? Why would you want to hang out with someone who has a bad tongue? Every time something that doesn't go their way, they're cussing. They're flabbergasted. They're always blaming others. What is this person going to do for you? How is he or she going to make you a better person? And most importantly, if you consider yourself a man, why are you cleaving with a girl? If you consider yourself a woman, why are you cleaving with a boy? So we have to examine what ungodliness means to you. I often say in therapy, right? Find a text in the Bible for all my clients who are spiritual. Find a text in the Bible that relates to ungodliness. Tell me the reason why you chose this text. Explain it, right? And pray about it. If you're engaged in any behavior that's ungodly, right, then you have to find behaviors in the Bible that's godly, because once you speak that godliness behavior out of your system, you have to replace it with a form of godliness. For example, if you are impatient, you name it, find a text that has to do with impatience, right? And explain the reason why you chose that text. Speak it out of your existence, then find a text that relates to patience and speak that into your existence, and then you are challenged to walk in it. Because from that point on, you will have circumstances where you have to walk in patience. So number 1, the grace of God, which appears before all men, it has to do with salvation. We are admonished to deny ungodliness. Number 2, we are admonished to deny worldly lust. Now, lust comes into 3 fashions according to the Bible: lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life. So if you find yourself having strongholds in these 3 areas, stop blaming others. Be careful what you watch on television, what you're using your phone for, and what you're listening to, and be more conscientious that there are certain things that you have to stay away, right? And it's important for you to understand that what you watch, what enters your senses, your five senses, right? Whatever enters your senses is going to affect your emotional expression and your thoughts. And we need, including this poor soul in front of you, we need to ensure that there's nothing clouding our decision making activities. Because remember, the decisions we make should edify others, give God the glory, edify others, and bring a solution to your conflicts. Most people will settle for the problem. They spend all their energies in the problem and they have no solution. Then they come to you and they expect you to solve their problem. We are not called to be consistently solving other people's problems, right? We have to say, oh, wait a minute, right? If you was the therapist and I was the client and I come to you with that same problem, what would you ask me to do? We have to always encourage others to move from the problem and focus to the solution. So getting back to this topic, the grace of God has appeared, the grace of God that bringeth salvation have appeared before all men, and appears to us in five ways. Number one, we are admonished to move away from ungodliness. Number two, we are admonished to move away from worldly lust. Number three, we are called to live soberly, right? That means we should not be intoxicated in our emotions. We should not be intoxicated in our anger. We should not be intoxicated in frustration. We should not be intoxicated with bitterness. Any form of behaviors that the Bible defines as works of the flesh, we should not have a master's degree or a PhD in that type of behaviors. How can you have sustainable behaviors if you're constantly angry or upset when things don't go your way? People have to feel like they're walking around on eggshells when they're around you. You're just an adult. You're just a boy in an adult's body, or you're a girl in an adult's body. And we are not called to live as a child in our behaviors. We are called to have a childlike heart, but we are called to engage in adult, reciprocal, healthy behaviors at all times. All right. So we are called to live soberly. We are called to live righteously. Righteously is another word for Jesus' character. It's the fruits of the Spirit, which is defined as love, peace, goodness, greatness, meekness, peace, faith, and there's a couple more. And this is found in the book of Galatians, I believe, chapter 6. In the beginning of that chapter, it talks about the works of the flesh. For example, jealousy, murder, lasciviousness. Those are examples. Then afterwards, it talks about the fruits of the Spirit. And these are choice behaviors. Each one of us has a responsibility or of choices we make that either has to do with the works of the flesh, or the fruits of the Spirit. The fruits of the Spirit come from above. That's godly behaviors at all times. So we have a choice about what behaviors that we're going to encounter. All right? Right? So once again, going to verse 11, for the grace of God that bringeth salvation have appeared before all men. The grace of God that brings salvation, which basically means if we do these five tasks, we will have a true conversion experience. We will be open for more truth. We will move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, because the word of God is powerful, right? It will change you from the inside out, and people will know that, man, there's something different about you, right? They are validating the change that is going on the inside of you. They may not see they don't know what you do in your private time, but they see that you carry yourself differently. You have confidence in everything that you do. So the grace of God that brings salvation, which basically means changed behavior, a true conversion experience, have appeared before all men. So when the Bible says all men, he talks about humanity. And if you want to break that down even further, God speaks to men as leaders. He speaks to you and he challenge us. What I speak to you, you have to live in it. You have to show your significant others what I have taught you. Not only do we tell them in word, but most importantly, we show them in character, in our behaviors. So number one, we are challenged to move away from ungodliness. Number two, we are challenged to move away from worldly lust. Number three, we should live soberly, righteously in everything we do. And number four, we are called to live righteously. Righteously is Jesus' character, it's the Ten Commandments, it's the fruits of the Spirit, it's heightened emotional intelligence, it's heightened reasoning, it is heightening intellect, and its ability to make decisions that's going to edify others. This is the greatest form of love. Love is changed behavior. It gets sweeter and sweeter and sweeter each and every day. Love is not confusion. Love is not one person say today I love you, but tomorrow I don't like you. That is not love. Love is agape love. It means that you're going to give your all 100% of time, even when your significant other is not giving all. It's not going to have any conditions of what you're going to do, because the love that you're showing is basically mirroring the love that God shows you. And this is what's missing in many relationships. So I'm sitting here when couples are talking to me, and I'm like, I know exactly what your problem is, right? But all I can do is encourage them, right? Because therapy is about the therapist helping the client to unlock the key of their heart. So all these behaviors, which are naturally in a person, right? The angry behaviors, that has to be externalized before we are to be filled up with godly behaviors. You cannot have these two behaviors in you, right? One has to be starved. One has to be stepped on. The angriness has to be stepped on. The frustration has to be stepped on. It has to be killed. So the fruits of the Spirit will naturally flow in you. Then you have the spirit of slowing down. When you find yourself in difficult situations, you will slow down because you always want to think. Let your thoughts override your emotions as opposed to your emotions overriding your thoughts. Now it says this, I will read this all together, bring this all together, right? For the grace of God that bringeth salvation have appeared before all men or humanity, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in the present world. So these five things we have to do from this point on. If there's anything that you have remembered from all of my videos, I admonish you to listen and get one task. What is your takeaway from that video, and live in it? We are called by God's grace to open our eyes and check ourselves. We spend so much time checking on others. Check yourself. We are called to do five things. Number one, right? We are taught to deny ungodliness. We are taught to move away from worldly lust. That's number two. Number three, to live soberly, to live righteously, and to live godly. Live godly basically means we can strive for perfection, right here, strive for perfection while settling for excellence. And why is it important for us to do these things? We need to set a positive example for our offspring, right? The whole purpose of the Bible, which is given to humanity, which is a history lessons, God is calling for men and women to be married and to replenish the earth, right? I'll have another video that talks about what exactly does that mean. It basically means, in a nutshell, to have fruitful lives, not only for yourselves, but for your children. Men, we have to show our sons what it means to be a husband. Wives, you are to show your daughters what it means to be a wife. We need to have a solid foundation for our children. And the truth of the matter, even before you can think about being married to another person, as I said in an earlier video, and in an earlier video of this video, and also in prior videos, you have to be married to yourself. No forms of confusion should exist within you. Know your role as a man or as a woman, right? And always seek to bring light into someone's world. This is Garrett Ingram. That's me, Garrett Ingram. I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me what is your takeaway. And remember, you are special, you are wonderfully made, and you are created to live in solutions and not a problem. Have a great day. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and share this video with others. And tell me in the comments, what is your takeaway from this video, and what are you going to do to live in it so you can build yourself up, so you can be a living testimony as you bring light into this dark world. Have a great evening and enjoy.